I think we can all agree that Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation is definitely worthy of the title of Father of Isekais with how it pioneered and introduced so many isekai tropes that we have now become accustomed to. But I think that isn't what makes Mushoku Tensei such an interesting and amazing series, because people don't give the world building of the series enough credit. I mean, if you read ahead of the light novel, you are able to find so much details about the series, like the different interesting locations of the world, the different type of fighting styles, the types of languages of the world, and so much more. But what impressed me the most is definitely from the anime itself, because with the help from the author, they actually created the fictional languages of Mushoku Tensei for the voice actors to learn and speak. And honestly, this is why I love the series so much. I mean, just the attention to details from the creators and how they try to put in just that additional effort to make the world more immersive is something that you rarely find in animes nowadays. That's why in today's video, I actually wanted to share one of the languages that fans of the series managed to decipher, and I'm only taking inspirations from them. All the credits go to the amazing people that did it. Now, there are some minor information about the light novel, so here is a spoiler warning just in case, and as always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more anime content.
おいおい、なんだこいつ。
But before I begin, I would first like to introduce the world of Mushoku Tensei. Basically, their world isn't exactly a spherical world like ours, and it mainly exists in a die-shaped structure with a total of 6 phases. This 6-phase world was actually created by a god of creation that was slowly dying and had wanted to create something before perishing. However, because it lacked the power to create a perfect world, all 7 of the worlds were severely deformed and unbalanced. These 7 worlds were known as the Dragon World, the Demon World, the Beast World, the Ocean World, the Sky World, and the Human World, with the 7th one being called the Void World. But the god knew the worlds would eventually collapse, so it decided to combine the 6 worlds together with the Void World in the middle, acting as a bridge to each of the worlds, thus creating the 6th-phase world. With the 6 worlds stabilized, the god used the last of its strength to divide itself into 6 entities that will watch over each world. They were known as the Dragon God, the Demon God, the Beast God, the Ocean God, the Sky God, and the Human God. However, a calamity had fallen upon the Dragon, Demon, Beast, Ocean, and Sky worlds, so the Human God had allowed the survivors of those worlds to flee into the Human world. In the Human world, the other races still managed to live together properly, mainly thanks to the geographical barriers separating each regions of the world. This allowed them to retain most of their culture and traditions from their previous worlds, which is also why their own spoken languages have not been lost. As for the non-spoken languages of the current world, we have the human language that sort of serves as the common tongue for most of the inhabitants, the Demon God language spoken by the Demon race, the Beast God language spoken by the Beast race, the Fighting God language, which is said to be quite similar to the human one, the Sea God and Sky God languages being the ones with the least information. And according to fans, the Beast God language apparently uses the HAITIAN language as a base, and the Demon God language is based on the Zulu language. However, because the information and ciphers on both those languages are still incomplete, we'll mainly be focusing on the human language, which has already been deciphered by fans. First of all, the only instance of the human language being spoken is during episode 1 when Rudeus gets reincarnated as a baby, but as we all know, afterwards they mainly use Japanese as a replacement for the human language. Now, despite the human language isn't spoken afterwards, we can at least see it being used in written form throughout the series, and to understand the written form is actually quite easy. According to fans, by using the magic book that Rudeus finds when he was younger as a foundation, they actually managed to find out what each of the symbols represent, and they were able to form the English alphabet. Now, I'll try to explain how they managed to reach this point, but I'm not a professional, nor do I have any knowledge about this subject, so it's just my own understanding of it, and I could be wrong. Also, I'm taking some inspirations from the YouTuber Anime Fan, so the credit goes to him as well, and if you understand Chinese, I'll leave a link down below to his video. So first off, if we use the basic starting method for most ciphers, like looking for 2-letter words and repeating letter patterns, we can easily take a guess that the possible words would be of, to, in, is, or it. Now let's take the 2 characters here, and if we assume that they didn't change the letter T, we can easily rule out the other 2-letter words. So using the characters we got, we can try to look for the most common 3-letter words that start with T, which would give us the word the. Then using the word the, we now know what characters represent TH, and looking at the 4 characters at the end of the first paragraph, we can assume it should be the word that, meaning we now have the letter for A. I'm assuming that's how they first found the starting characters and just slowly pieced together the different words through trial and error until they reached the eventual list of characters. So here's the completed list of characters in the human language, and remember that it still somewhat works like English, so some characters are case sensitive. For example, the upper and lower case for the letter A is the same, but when it comes to the letter I, it is completely different. And it's to be expected that because Mushoku Tensei is a Japanese anime, sometimes there could be spelling errors like chanting becoming canting, so it really can be helped. Having said that, with a little bit of effort to translate what's written inside the book, we can see that Rudeus was reading the origin of magic in this world and the methods to cast magic, which is honestly pretty cool knowing that it's not just random words. But sorry to say that with the list I just showed you, we still can't fully understand the language. Like when we take a look at the book that Roxy wrote for Rudeus, if you try to translate the parts that are in the human language, it will come out as complete nonsense. But that doesn't mean the list is wrong. We can still use it as a foundation to understand the language, because in episode 5 when we see the signage, if we use the normal cipher, it reads out as Whedon, which is in fact an actual location in the anime. But when we try to translate the words below, it will come out as Estranazale, which again seems like nonsense. But when we use Google Translate, it will show that the word is from the BASQUE language and it means coach, as in a stagecoach, another name for a horse-drawn carriage. This means that the creators decided to use BASQUE as a basis for forming their human language, which is actually pretty awesome, because BASQUE is essentially only found near the region that straddles between the westernmost Pyrenees in adjacent parts of northern Spain and southwestern France, and it is considered to be a language isolate, meaning it's a language that is unrelated to any other, so it's a somewhat rare language. That said, we still can't really directly take the translated word from the BASQUE language, because if we try to translate the words on the bottle of aphrodisiac that Rudeus wanted to buy, it will have no results on Google. However, according to Anime Fan, the Twitter user Narabikura managed to decipher the final point needed for us to fully understand the human language. But to do this, we need to first take a look back at the book that Roxy wrote. Now, if we understand that the book was made for teaching the most basic kinds of terms to learn the demon god language, we can simply assume that the phrases will be quite easy. Like take these two sentences for instance, because the drawing beside it is basically showing a sword, it stands to reason that it would be something that is along the line of what is this, and we could follow that up with this is sword. With these two phrases, we can use Google Translate again, this time from English to BASQUE, and for the first phrase we got Zedahao, and when we compare it with the translated words inside the book, it would be Baksatao. As for the second phrase, it would be How Espadada, and again comparing it with the translation for the book, we got Tau and Mahasa. If we look at both these phrases, we can see that the vowels remain the same and only the consonants are all different from the original translation. Based on what Narabikura guessed, it's likely that the creators of the anime did in fact use BASQUE as the foundation for their human language, but they just swapped the consonants like D with X, Z with B, and H with T. That's why we can directly translate everything from BASQUE to English, and with the new list provided by Reddit user LemonSoda2021, here's the completed version of the BASQUE to human language guide. As you can see, only the vowels all remain the same, while most of the consonants have been changed with each other. So now if we take a look back at the right page of the book, we can read it as, is this a book? Yes, this is a book, and thank you. As for what it says on the bottle of aphrodisiac, the first row is according to the appointment, the second row is his love is king, followed by potion and perfume, and the last row reads as find suppliers. Now, I did try to translate a couple of other things as well, and I noticed that for names, we don't have to translate the words into BASQUE and can directly use the original cipher. For example, if we go back to the cover of the book Rudeus pulls out, if we translate it into BASQUE, it would be Macvius Kondaira, which means Macvius legend. Now, there are no other characters that is named Macvius in the series, but if we simply translate it with the original cipher, we'll get Pergius, which is the name of an actual character in the series. So it's likely that when it comes to names, we can simply directly translate it, and for everything else, we'll need to use the BASQUE translation method. So that's basically all the information on the human language, how to write and read the characters. Although when it comes to the way of speaking it, the only thing you need to remember is that it is spoken without being translated into BASQUE. Like if you want to say how are you in the human language, it will be Beckham Baus instead of the BASQUE translation of Zelan Zaud. The best anime example we got is probably when Paul speaks to Zenith after Rudeus was born. Here he said Buke Aihanai in the human language, and if we translate it into BASQUE, it will be Zure Aitanais, which translated in English is just
I am your father.
Anyways, now that we managed to learn about the human language of Mushoku Tensei, let's play a game. I want you guys to guess what I am saying. Mushoku Tensei Zekia Takivakia Za Eha Ekaza Paihe Zu Viba Tibrumba. So did you manage to get that? Leave a comment down below if you knew what I was saying. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a like, subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell for more anime content like this. Thanks for watching, and as always, Yvonne by Heb Zevuku Zeno.